crazy what's going on in Chicago, man. Crazy what's going on in Chicago with these Venezuelan migrants pretty much taking over abandoned buildings, stamping certain blocks and neighborhoods where they're operating out of, and they're brandishing weapons. So it's one of those situations. No one's really stopping them, right? And there's reports that they get housing, even get car expenditures, they get food, funding. And a lot of people out here in Chicago are saying that there could possibly be in the future some type of turf war going on because these guys are coming in deep. Let's get into this video real quick, man. It gets really interesting.
To enter our country.
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now.
The city of Chicago is gonna go up in smoke, it's gonna go up in flame.
Gangs in Chicago are angry over the influx of migrants and criminals in their city. They say money that should be going to the African-American community on the South Side is instead going to what they call non-citizens, and warn that turf wars between Chicago's gangs and groups like Venezuela's Translator App could see Chicago, quote, go up in flames. Photographer Matt McDermott and I traveled to Chicago's South Side to see what was happening for ourselves after we heard about a police report last month that the Translator gang had taken over an office building there. We spoke to a number of young, hardcore gang members, as well as gang elders who have retired from the life, and just regular citizens who are very much part of the community. And they're all furious at the estimated $500 million that's reportedly been funneled toward new migrants in Chicago since 2022. And they aren't happy either about what they say are Venezuelan criminal gangs that are leaving the shelters and spilling out into the South Side into abandoned buildings. I spoke to Tyrone Muhammad of ExCon For Trump, who runs a street patrol and violence prevention program. He's gone straight since his days as an enforcer for the Gangster Disciples. And he said the situation is very tense on the South Side as turf battles between the local gangs and Venezuelan migrants heat up.
It is impossible to release gang members and criminals into our country through the borders and broken walls, and then infiltrate them in our community that's already impoverished, that's already broken, that's already disinvested. And when the black gangs, the leadership in the black gangs in Chicago get fed up with the illegalities and the criminal activity of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is gonna go up in smoke, it's gonna go up in flame, and there's gonna be nothing that the National Guard or our government can do about it when the bloodshed hit the streets, blacks against migrants.
Zach Massey did time in state prison with Tyrone Muhammad, although he's only 27. He's a leader on the streets and said he's disgusted by the money going to Venezuelan migrants at the expense, he says, of the African-American community.
And I finally actually talked to him on the Translator App, and he told me all the things that he got going on, how they help him get a car, apartment, clothes, link. So it's just I just be looking at it like they ain't got no Social Security number. Where they come from? He probably not even here legally.
They get right here, they get quick housing, quick funding, food. They get cars with no license. They can't even read English and stuff like that. So they get all these perks when they get here, and we still here starving. So what we gonna do about it? Are y'all gonna listen to our cries?
Corey Rogers was a Blackstone gang member for years. He drove us around the South Side and showed us areas where he said Translator and other criminal gangs are setting up shop, and what he called showing the flag, which means brandishing their weapons in front of a housing project.
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now in this area. Right now you don't see them because they come out at night. They said they took this courtway over probably by last week. He said it was 100 Venezuelans standing out in the front right here.
Terry, is it an abandoned building? How do they just take it over?
They just, when you take over something, you just stand outside, and that's called showing the flag.
What kind of guns
Semi-automatics, anything you name, you're gonna see it on the street. These boys got so many big guns that if they're 150 pounds, the gun is bigger than them. I swear.
But they know how to handle it, right?
They-
They know it. Tell me about the fact that they're criminals, right? This is a criminal element. These aren't just a bunch of Venezuelans that walked over the border and used to be gardeners back home, right?
Right. And they come from the gangland. They come from rougher gangs than us.
One gang member who only gave his name as David on a particularly dangerous drug dealing corner on the South Side did not hold back when he talked about the influx of criminal gangs from other countries into Chicago.
The real issue is that America has allowed gangs to enter our country. Gangs that they would consider terrorist groups that are formed here. We are terrorist groups if we're in a gang. They let terrorists in our country.
The Reverend Corey Brooks also said to me he's disgusted with Democratic policies and said that Black Lives Matter, for example, has never reached out to help him or anyone else trying to improve conditions on the South Side.
Chicago is a blue city. Illinois is a blue state. There's no doubt about it that the majority of our neighborhood, they're going to continue to vote Democrat until they wake up. The good news is that there are a lot of people who are responding and waking up and saying, listen, we're not going to take this. We're not going to stand for this. We're going to vote differently. And they're now accepting some of the values that I hold dear and some of the values that the conservative Republican Party holds so dear. And so for a lot of people, it's not about the person, it's about the policies that we're fed up with. And as a result, I think this is going to be the largest amount of people who have voted for a Republican president in Chicago that we've seen.
I also spoke to one Venezuelan man who was so scared of being identified that he put a hoodie on and refused to face the camera. He told me in Spanish that he had to flee the building where he was being housed because a Venezuelan criminal gang took it over. He said if they knew he was talking, they'd end his family's life back in Venezuela with one bullet. You know, what struck me the most about our week in Chicago was how intelligent and self-aware these gang members.
All right, man. So, yeah, definitely a serious situation, and I think it's brewing up. I don't know. I still, for the love of me, can't figure out what this whole migrant entering the United States situation is, you know, what the outcome of this is intended to be, except sheer chaos and private prisons incarcerating more people, leading to more profits and you know, yeah, and I can't for the love of me understand that, you know, what the situation is as far as allowing all these people to come in illegally, you know, and take over abandoned homes, and they're obtaining weapons and all these resources other than sheer chaos. I don't know what the, you know, implications of it are, but it looks like this is about to erupt. Chicago is not a nice city as far as, you know, its past and, you know, situations with gangs and stuff, things of that nature. So this looks like a ticking time bomb, if you ask me. And, you know, yeah, I don't know what the, you know, plan is with this whole thing, but except chaos and killings and filling up some more private prisons somewhere, you know, it's just a shame.